The head of department is responsible for the employment, the management, and the remuneration of all student assistants in a department. My name is Dave Suri, and I'm the Dean of Commerce, but I'm also in charge of the student assistance budget for the university as a whole. I prepared a short presentation for you where I hope to explain the how, the why, the when, and the what of student assistance. All courses at the university comprise the following components: a set of lectures, a set of tutorials, and most departments have TUTs, a set of laboratory practicals, mostly in the science, pharmacy, and some of the commerce departments, and then field trips. Each course requires any one or more of the following to be submitted throughout the year for assessment. There must be innumerable assignments and essays, laboratory reports, projects, and then, of course, tests for continuous assessment are also written. In all departments, large and small, student assistants, and they are named variably tutors or practical demonstrators, are employed to support the teaching staff. In some of our larger departments, it's just thoroughly impractical for the lecturer to be doing all the tutorials for 700-800 students. Tutoring and assisting students in laboratories and on field trips is also regarded as a valuable addition to one's tertiary education. And it's certainly my hope that you will find lots of postgrad students who will really be keen to be a tutor. Student assistants are drawn from final year students, postgraduate students, and of course postgraduate students in receipt of a prestigious scholarship, requiring them to work as student assistants as part of that scholarship. They are paid a standard rate determined each year by the HR division, and be careful, the prestigious scholarship holders are not paid. They've already been paid in the form of their scholarship. Departments advertise or make known positions of student assistants at the end of the preceding academic year or at the start of the new academic year. Some departments conduct a very formal process whereby postgraduate students and third years are invited to apply for the position of a student assistant. In some departments, they attach student assistants to places in honours or postgraduate programs. By that I mean, if you are going to be an honours student in our department, then you're required to be a tutor. Some departments mount formal interviews for positions as student assistants, as I've already said. And then in some departments, they battle to source student assistants and need to approach students in cognate disciplines, especially those with large undergraduate but small postgraduate classes. It's very important to know the following, and I'm sure you'll be very pleased to hear this. The allocation of student assistance departments is done automatically. Isn't that absolutely delightful? No application for student assistance is required. You don't have to do anything. It's done automatically. For each department, a formal model of the use of student assistance has been constructed. You as the head of department or the previous head of department would have been in tight engagement with the dean and or myself to discuss how you wish to use tutors or practical demonstrators in your department. And I keep all the models for all the departments, whereby I then make use of them to do the disbursement. This model comprises for each course the number of tutorials, assignments, practicals, tests, projects that are going to be mounted for a semester or a year-long course, the length in hours of tutorials and practicals, the student assistant preparation time. How much time do you expect a tutor to spend preparing for a tutorial? The ratio of students to student assistants for tutorials and practicals. And in this case, we generally work off a ratio of any between 12 and 15 students to a tutor. And finally, the time for marking assessments, whether they happen to be assignments, essays, projects, tests, or laboratory practicals. And every year, these models are primed with student enrollment, and prestigious scholarship holder data. So here's a picture of the process. So for every department, there is a departmental model which comprises particular facets. You can see over there the number of TUTS, pracs and projects all the way through to assessment time. And at the beginning of the year, after curriculum approval, when the student numbers in all classes has settled, I enter the student enrollment for your department. I also get a list of all the prestigious scholarship holders who will be doing their postgrad studies in your department. I feed it into the model, and out pops the total number of hours allocated to your department for student assistance and an equivalent rand value. How do you get to know when I've done my work? At the end of the first week of term, deans will supply each department with the following information. And you do want to keep an eye on your dean and make sure that he or she does let you know the outcome of the allocation process. And your dean will supply you with the total hours of student assistance allocated to the department, and it'll be divided into two sets of hours: new student assistant hours and hours to be contributed by prestigious scholarship holders. So there are two groups of people. There'll be your prestigious scholarship holders who will need to work for you, and then you'll be employing new students, new tutors to do the residue of that work. You'll also be provided with a list of the names of prestigious scholarship holders. In addition to that, you'll get the rate of pay per hour for student assistance. And finally, you'll get what we call a departmental tutor control spreadsheet. The rand amount of your new student assistant hours will be credited to your departmental student assistant account. And you do want to go and check that that's been done. So there'll be a couple of things that you'll be receiving. Make sure you get all of them. The departmental tutor control spreadsheet is used as an audit of the employ and remuneration of tutors. You'll get an example control spreadsheet that you'll have to populate. And the idea is that for every single course, for every single term of the year, for every single tutor, whether they are new tutors or prestigious scholarship holders, you will indicate how much time they'll be spending tutoring, marking an essay, or marking a test. And then that will all be added up for that particular course, and you'll do it for all the courses in your department, and then end up with a final number of hours allocated as far as you see it. And you're going to be in a position to reconcile the total number of hours that's been allocated to you and the way in which you're going to use those hours per student. And obviously, you'll go back to your model of tutoring in the department to determine exactly how many hours a particular student in a particular course for a particular term for tutoring or essay marking or test marking or whatever the activity happens to be, and note that down very carefully. As far as operationalizing the student assistance budget, it's important that you do the following. You complete that departmental tutor control spreadsheet, and you need to submit it to your dean. And you need to do that fairly early on in the year so that the dean will be able to check that the allocated hours equals the proposed use of hours. You will then go ahead, employ your new student assistants, you'll inform your prestigious scholarship holders of duties, and then throughout the year, you'll pay your new tutors on a regular basis, and you'll also monitor the use of your budget and hours to check that you're on track. The audit of student assistance takes place annually. So every year, student assistance accounts must be reconciled for submission to the university's Budget Executive Committee. And that reconciliation must be done between your initial hour allocations and the actual use of student assistance hours. And then secondly, between the initial rand value of our allocations and the actual rand value of funds spent. And this will be checked to see that everything reconciles, and then I'm in a position then to report to the Budget Executive Committee. Some frequently asked questions. So you may well wish to want to know, what if your student enrollment changes materially during the semester? It is the case that students do move from one course to another, and if there is a material change, you really do want to inform me, because I need to adjust the allocation of student assistance to your department. So please drop me a note. What if the rate of pay changes during the year? That will be done automatically. You'll be informed of the rate of pay change, but in addition to that, an extra amount of funding will be dispersed, and you can keep an eye open for that. Thirdly, what if your prestigious scholarship holders refuse to tutor, or their supervisor refuses to allow them to tutor? Well, in the first instance, that they have to tutor is a contractual obligation. And it's an obligation and a contractual agreement between the university and the student. And if either the holder or the supervisor refuses to tutor, please contact me, or you can contact Ms. Jane Roberts, the Director of Research, and her email address is there, and we will attend to the situation. Fourthly, what if your model needs amendment? For example, you're not running as many tutorials per week as you thought, or the time taken is more than the model has included. In this case, you must chat about a possible change with your dean, who will either tell you, no, I'm afraid it's not possible, or will come and chat with me and I will change the model. So what might constitute a valid change to your model? Well, certainly if you're running more tutorials than the model comprises, you need to let me know, and that will be changed. If you're looking at making a dramatic change, for example, for a student to tutor ratio from 15:1 to say 5:1, that may well constitute a bridge too far. But that's a discussion that you need to have with your dean, who, as I have now said, will either say, no, I'm afraid that is not appropriate, or will agree with you and will then come and chat with me, and we will make an amendment to the model. Finally, it's vitally important to stick rigidly to your allocation of hours, to your departmental model, to your rate of pay, and to the use of prestigious scholarship holders. It's only when all four of those aspects are working in synchrony will student assistance in general work well in your department. If you've got any issues that you'd like to talk about, please communicate with your dean or have a chat with me, and I'll hopefully be able to explain lots to you. Student assistants are a great help within a department. I firmly believe too that it's extraordinarily good for a postgraduate or a final year student to be involved in tutoring. It enhances their educational experience immeasurably. It should be really good for them, and it's certainly going to be really good for you and your colleagues in the department to have the assistance of your postgraduate students. Enjoy having them on board.